Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We are back, continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week, we are in the book of Deuteronomy. We're going to be looking at Deuteronomy chapter 25. Deuteronomy chapter 25. And the title is If There Is a Dispute. If there is a dispute. We're going to go ahead and look at the chapter. We'll just read through chapter 25, and then we'll go through. There's a few topics within this chapter. We'll see if they are connected to each other or if they're just totally random. We'll just go ahead. Let me pull up for us the chapter. We'll just go ahead and read through the whole thing, and then we will go back. All right, let me put this up here so we can see it. All right, go ahead and read for us chapter 25.
When there is a dispute between men, then they shall come up unto judgment, and they shall be judged. And the righteous declared righteous, and the wrongdoer declared wrong. And it shall be, if the wrongdoer is to be struck, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and be struck in his presence with the number of blows according to his wrong. 40 strikes he gives to him, but no more, lest he strike him with many more blows than these, and your brothers be degraded before your eyes. Do not muzzle an ox while it is threshing. When the brothers dwell together, and one of them has died, and has no son, the widow of the dead man shall not become a stranger outside. Her husband's brother does go in to her, and shall take her as a wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. And it shall be that the firstborn son which she bears does rise up for the name of his dead brother, so that his name is not blotted out of Israel. But if the man does not desire to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up a name to his brother in Israel. He does not agree to perform the duty of my husband's brother. The elders the elders of his city shall then call him and speak to him, and he shall stand and say, I have no desire to take her. Then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders, and remove his sandal from his foot, and shall spit in his face, and answer, and say, thus it is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. And in Israel his name shall be called the house of him who has his sandal removed. When men fight with one another, a man and his brother, and the wife of one shall draw near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one striking him, and shall put out her hand and take hold of him by the genitals. Then you shall cut off her hand. Your eye does not pardon. You shall not have in your bag differing weights, a heavy and a light. You shall not have in your house differing measures, a large and a small. You shall have a perfect and right weight, a perfect and right measure, so that they prolong your days on the soil which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. For all who do these and all who do unrighteously are an abomination to Yahweh your Elohim. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you were coming out of Mitzrayim. How he met you on the way and attacked your back and the feeble ones in your rear. when you were tired and weary, and he did not fear Elohim. Therefore it shall be, when Yahweh your Elohim has given you rest from your enemies all around, in the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you to possess as an inheritance, that you blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. Do not forget.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So let us go back up to the top. We got a couple things over here. If there is a dispute, or as this one says here, when there is a dispute. I want to go ahead and look at this here. One thing that I just didn't think about before, but just as I just read this here, let me just look and see what this says in the King James Version. Verse 1, judgment. Oh, justify. Okay. Justify the righteous. Okay, so I just was just thinking about this just as we were reading this here. The idea of justification.
Mm-hmm.
Justification is something that a lot of times, people get confused. And many verses that we see in the so-called New Testament kind of are misrepresented as it relates to justification.
Mm-hmm.
The proper way to kind of think about justification is this is the reason why I'm thinking about it, just because this is a perfect example. When you look at this, where it says, and they shall be judged, and the righteous declared righteous, and the wrongdoer declared wrong. They're declared righteous by the judge.
Mm-hmm.
So the judge looked at the two, judged the matter, and deemed one to be righteous and the other to be wrong. And based on what the judge declared is what they actually are, right? His judgment, says, who is to be in which category. And so when we think about justification and kind of the act of being declared righteous, it doesn't have anything to do with you or your actions. And so when we look at verses that talk about you were justified by faith and not by works, lest one should boast. I can't remember what verse that is. It's like Romans or something. But when we see these types of things, it helps us to understand that our justification, the point of us being declared righteous, comes from what Yeshua has done for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when we look at, some of the things that are kind of brought up with mainstream Christianity, and they compare, the things that we do and say you get into a conversation with someone in mainstream Christianity and talk to them about keeping the Shabbat, and then they talk to you about you're justified by faith, not by works, lest you should boast, as if as if you're boasting, or as if your justification comes through you keeping the Shabbat, which it doesn't. Your justification comes through the work of Messiah. And the things that you might do as a result of your justification is now dealing with something that is called sanctification and is different from justification. And so understanding the difference between what justification is and sanctification is it helps with our understanding of what Paul is actually saying in the New Testament. Here, what are these? These are the verses here. What did I say? 2 verses together? Or what?
Yeah, you kind of smashed them together.
Okay, let's see.
No man can bear this Ephesians 2 verse 9.
All right, let me see if you know what you're talking about. Okay, read Ephesians 2, 8 and 9.
8 and 9. For by favor you have been.
Hold on, let me just put this over there. Sometimes I just want to hear it in the King James. Okay, go ahead.
And it says, for by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of Elohim, not of works, lest any man should boast.
Okay, very good. And Romans 5. Hold on. Romans 5. Well, yeah, go ahead and read that. I'm pretty sure that what I said is an actual Bible verse, but just because you wasn't able to find it quickly. Read 1 and 2, Rachel.
1 and 2. Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with Elohim through Yahweh, Yeshua Messiah, by whom also we have access by faith into this grace wherein we stand and rejoice in hope of the glory of Elohim.
Okay, very good. So I just brought up this idea of understanding justification. It's a whole kind of a thing in and of itself to kind of looking at the idea of it. But just because of the fact that we saw over here in Deuteronomy, the fact that the judge declares something to be, and that's what it is literally what the idea of justification is. So it's true when he says that you're saved, you're justified. Your justification is based on your faith in Yeshua. And it's not based on the things that you might do. What's the verse that says unto good works? Is that what we just read? Unto good works. I need my trusty
your Bible.
Bible.
Ephesians 2 verse 10.
Was we just looking at that too?
We was in.
Hold on, we was a verse away.
We was a verse away from that.
Hold on.
Yes. We was a verse away.
Oh yeah, we were a verse away. Okay, read 9 and 10, even though we read 9 already.
Not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Messiah Yeshua unto good works, which Elohim hath before ordained that we should walk in them.
Yes, very good. So the thing that Yeshua did for us puts us in a particular position, like unto the way that the people went before the judge, and the judge looked at the thing, and then the judge said who was right and who was wrong. Like unto that, because of our faith in Messiah, through faith, right, that puts us in a particular position. And then in that position, we as it says, created in Messiah Yeshua unto good works. So good works follow after us because of the place where Yeshua has placed us.
We don't get the lashes.
What?
We don't get the lashes.
Well, not necessarily connected to the lashes, but I'm just putting the cart in its place after the horse and not before it, right? The horse in this situation is Messiah, and the works are the cart being pulled by the horse, who is Messiah. And so that's just a quick little justification, sanctification kind of a thing. It's a kind of a whole situation in and of itself. But like I said, when I looked at this just now, we were just reading it. The judge justified the righteous, right? Mm-hmm. He declared to be right the righteous. And so what we want to look at over here is this whole thing now. Because when we look at verse 2 over here, the wicked one, the one who was declared to be wicked by the judge, it said, if the wicked one may be worthy to be beaten, right, then he gets his lashes according to his fault by a certain number. Like he might have did something that just called for 10 lashes, right? He might have did something that called for 25 lashes, but whatever he did, it didn't go over 40 lashes. Now it's interesting that just kind of as a side note, the Pharisees really were an interesting bunch, because they really desired to cause people to not step out of bounds. And so one of the things that they came up with in regards to this verse not going over 40 lashes, they would create these little whip things, these little things that had 13 things on it. It had 13 things on it. And so one hit is good for 13 strikes. And so what's that? 3 hits would be 39 hits. And so to be sure, because you couldn't go over 40, right? And if somebody's sitting there counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's easy to to to
Mess it up.
miss the count,
Ah, lost count. I gotta start over.
right? And so a thing that they did
Makes
to
sense.
to keep from going over was to create this little 13 thing, um, where they only had to hit you 3 times, where they was getting that 39, and they knew that they wasn't gonna go over the 40, which was the allotted. Which I just thought
I think that's a good way.
that was interesting.
I mean, it's harder. It's a harder punishment because you get it all at once, but
Yeah,
at least there's no messing up with the count.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think people overlook lashes. When they think about Torah penalties,
Yeah,
they don't normally talk about lashes.
yeah.
And I think about these Hebrew communities out here. I wonder how many of the zealous Torah people would
Are handing out lashes.
handing out lashes, number one, but would actually take lashes and still stay within their community.
Yeah,
I don't think there's very many. They'd be like, man, I'm done with those people crazy over there.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting because when you think about it, this really is, this is Torah. People want to do things that are according to the Torah, but there's certain things like why can't you do this? Right? It don't got nothing to do with temple priests or what have you. None of that. It's just about right and wrong. It's just about the elders judging a matter and handing down punishment and bringing out the rod of correction.
Oh.
Now, it literally was a rod, right? There's verses that we find, like in 2 Samuel and Proverbs, where it talks about the, getting beat on getting a rod on your back. And so it literally was a rod, until they get to the place where they are concerned with over beating, right? And so again, it didn't have to be 40. It didn't have to be 40, but it definitely couldn't be more than 40. And so it's interesting that 40 is mentioned, because when we think about 40 as a number, the number 40, it signifies trials. It signifies tribulation. Mm-hmm. And trials are there so that you grow, right? You go through trials and tribulations to bring about refinement. When we think about the punishment that was the 40 years in the wilderness, it was only because they spent 40 days in the land to try the land. Mm-hmm. And the punishment was connected to the 40 that already, was put in place because they went in to spy out the land, to seek to understand it. And so when we think about Israel's 40 years in the wilderness, this wasn't to destroy Israel, right? It was to refine Israel. It was to get rid of that which shouldn't have been part of the nation. That part of the nation dies in the wilderness, and the refined part goes through. And so this 40 period that happens is a place of growth and refinement.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we think about this in regards to what we're looking at over here with this 40 lashes, right? It's interesting that this verse 3 over here is here where it deals with the fact of 40 stripes that he's given. He does not exceed. You don't go over. Why? Because if you should exceed and beat him above these with many lashes, then thy brother should seem vile unto thee. So let's look at this over here. What is this? What is this dealing with over here? Let me look at verse 3. Okay, it says 40 days, 40 nights it rained to cleanse the earth of wickedness in the days of Noah. Exactly. The cleansing of the earth, yes, it destroyed the wicked parts, but the earth in general, as you said, is being cleansed, right? And so there's a negative part, right, for the wicked. But the purpose of it wasn't to destroy the earth; it was to cleanse it, right? And so we have to be able to look at this kind of this refinement process that's incorporated with 40. And so the 40 lashes, it wasn't meant to kill you, right? It wasn't meant to destroy you. It was punishment, chastisement, to to put you in a place where whatever it was that you did wouldn't be repeated, right? And so again, when we look at this over here, it specifically says not to go over, so that you don't look at your brother and should seem vile, that he should seem vile unto you. So let's look at what this word means here. This word is kala, which is to be light. To hold in contempt, to despise, lightly esteem, to set light. Okay, so let's look at a few things over here. Let us look at Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs 12. Proverbs 12 and verse 9.
He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoreth himself and lacketh bread.
Okay, all right. So let's look at what this does over here. First of all, verse 9. This word here, despised. This is our word here. Kala, right? He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honors himself and lacks bread. It's interesting that these two things are kind of put against each other as opposites, right? The ones that's despised and the one that honors himself. What is this person doing that's honoring himself? It's this one here, kabod, right? Which is heavy, right? You have the light thing and the heavy, right? Don't take these words lightly, right? When you think about the fact that you honor your father and mother, the things that they say is honored, right? It's weighty, it's heavy, right? Which is, of course, the opposite of light. And so, we kind of see this kind of juxtaposition between this kala and kabad, this light and heavy. First Samuel. Let's look at First Samuel 18 and 23. Go ahead, read that.
23. Right?
Yeah.
It says, and Saul's servants spake those words in the ears of David, and David said, seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am poor and lightly esteemed?
Yes, very good. So it's two times here, right? Seeming it to you a light thing and lightly esteemed, right? This is our word here. Again, thinking about the way in which one is being perceived, or the weight, gravity, importance that is being put on a particular thing, right? And so when we think about Deuteronomy, right, just because somebody has done something that is wrong, that deserved punishment, we want the punishment, but we don't want there to be a degrading of the person, right? We don't want a humiliation, a humiliation of the person, right? When you think about this kind of
I'm sorry.
when you think about when people in our society go to prison, when they're penalized for a wrong that they've done, they've been declared to be wicked by the judge, and they become worthy of a particular judgment. But according to the Torah wants for you to get your judgment and be done with it. Right? Receive your judgment, and that's it. Not for there to be a stigma placed upon you. Not for you to be caused to be someone of light esteem because of something that you've done. Right? And when you think about, this place that we are, people, first of all, our justice system here in this land was not created to rehabilitate anyone, but we can see how it's all together. We can see how it's all together wicked, because not only was it not created to rehabilitate you, but it also attaches to you a stigma, this mark, this brand made with iron that's put on you that lasts for the rest of your life. And so it doesn't matter if you truly were in fact rehabilitated in spite of what the system did to you. You're always going to have this mark on you, which is going to make things harder for you in life. And so when we look at Torah now, we're able to see that this is wicked. Because when we look over here at Deuteronomy 25, 1 through 3, yes, the thing that they did was wicked, and yes, they were declared wicked based on those things, but they were beaten. But the purpose of them only getting a certain amount of stripes was so that you don't look at your brother and he seem light to you,
Like he's just
like he's nothing,
like he's a goofball. Or
like he's whatever,
like
right? Whatever type of adjective you want to put on it. But the facts of the matter are is that the Most High didn't want for there to be placed on this person this stigma. Oh, he's that guy that did that thing, and that just become like who you are. Is that thing that you did? They figured out a way to monetize judgment through yes, everything about it, everything about what they've done with this quote unquote justice system is wicked. They put these stigmas on you. They put you in this place where, if anything, they teach you how to be a better criminal.
you with a whole bunch of criminals.
You just with a whole bunch of criminals, and you just live a life in there that's that's just
Like an animal.
It's terrible.
Shackled up.
It's terrible, every aspect of it. And so from A to Z, the whole situation is wicked. And yes, indeed, they absolutely have monetized this thing, and they turned it into industry.
Mm-hmm. Prison industry.
Yeah, it's industry. It's they
make stuff in there.
They make things in there for nothing, and make all types of money for it. You go out into some of these rural areas. There's nothing there except a Walmart and a prison. It's crazy, and that's the whole economy for these areas. And again, just looking at it based on this verse 3 over here, it helps us understand that and see another aspect of the wickedness, because according to the Torah, we aren't to put this stigma on the one that was counted as guilty.
And you're an ex-felon.
I know, that's like your
can't get a job.
Ex-convict. No,
you can't get anything. You can't vote.
You can't do anything. You can't have a gun. that's what's important to me. There's so many
you can't
things.
Shoot a gun.
You can't hold a gun. You can't be with people who have guns. Like, it's just terrible. Good.
According to the Torah, if the judge, whatever it was, they couldn't rehabilitate you, you was just killed. Your name just got blotted out. You couldn't be there.
Well, yeah, if it got to that, if you became if you was like a repeat offender and you did, progressively worse, which what happens, that's what happens. People do things and they do progressively worse things. This, whatever this is something that was a sin that was not unto death, where you just, you got beat. But there most certainly are sins that are unto death.
Or the separation. You gotta leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's one of the two things happen. You either get cast out of the outside of the camp, or you get cast out of the land of living. When you think about Torah is not, Torah's not like this place that we live in, where this place is wicked, and Torah is just. It's this, if there's a common theme that we can look at, just from this chapter, just as we just looked at these first 3 verses, but we read the whole thing, understanding that the Most High is about right ruling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I like about the scriptures version, where it kind of gives you that that translation of right ruling. Like this is the way that the Most High deals in His judgments, where things are right. And when we deal with these nations that we're bound to, that we're in, even the things that are theoretically supposed to be right, they're actually in fact wrong. Okay, what was you gonna say?
That now, if you try to correct anyone for something they've done, in which there's no dispute on the wrongness of it, they say that you're sunning them. It's about a conversation. But in this situation, they literally spanked them. How much more sunning is that?
I guess we're going to use the terminology. When you think about, the problem is, the thing that I think is important to understand is that you not only have the fact of going before judgment, but you also have the aspect of accepting whatever it is the judgment is, and following after it. And so this is something that you have to kind of have within your mind, that when you go before, I'm talking about the righteous judge, when you go before the righteous judge, whatever he comes up with, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
As a human, he could, for all we know, he could, say, all right, I'm running. Like, I'm not going to take these lashes. Right. But within the confines of the perfect society, there's judges, there's judgment, there's consequences for actions, and it takes people to be able to accept the judgment and the consequences. And so it's a big problem, I would say, with people in these days and times, because they have so many people misquoting or misinterpreting the Bible, in terms of judgment. And saying, only God can judge me. You can't. Or you can't judge me. And these things aren't what the Bible teaches us. The Bible don't teach us these things, right? The Bible teaches us right ruling, judgment, and righteousness. Yeshua, when he talks about the beam and the moat. Here, let's look at it. Let's look at what Yeshua says over here. First of all, let me find it. Let's see here. What's that? Matthew 23, 16 through 26.
Hold on to you, blind God.
Oh, what I'm looking for is Matthew 7. Matthew 7. Let me pull this up here. Matthew 7. Let's see here. 7 through 6. Hold on, let me make this bigger here.
7, 1 through 6.
1
right?
through 6.
All right. It says, judge not, that ye be not judged.
Okay, let's just stop right there. If you're not able, this is how we need to understand what going to be what we're reading over here. If you're not able to be judged, then you're not able to judge. Judge not that you be not judged. If you're not in the position where you're able to be judged yourself, then you're not able to actually make any judgments. Okay, keep on.
Says, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye?
You have this huge thing that's in your eye, but you want to look over at your brother and he has this little tiny speck, a little splinter in his eye, and you're worried about that little tiny minuscule minute thing, and you got a huge thing in your eye. You're not able to accept judgment, so therefore you can't be judging. You're not in the position to judge, because the thing that you're doing is far worse than what he's doing. Right? You got this big old it says you got this big old beam. You got this big old huge beam in your eye, and you sitting up here worrying about the speck that's in his eye. All right, verse 4.
Verse 4 says, or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye?
How can you even see the mote? How can you see the mote? Like, you can't even, if I got a speck in my eye,
I can't see nothing.
how you supposed to get it? Like, you gotta get some tweezers or something, and you got to be able to look intently and closely to be able to see the thing.
Gotta put light up in there to look at it.
Light, everything else. Yeshua said, verse 5, what?
He said, verse 5, thou hypocrite,
You a hypocrite.
first cast
Hold
out.
on, he said first. He said first.
First cast out.
Hold on, but if you doing something first, then there's something that's going to come after. That's the thing. Now, if there's something that's first, then there's something then that is second. Right? Good.
First cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then
And second, then after you get the beam out of your eye first, then it says,
then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye.
okay, so this is telling me that I can't judge people? No, it ain't telling me that. It's telling me I need to judge my own self first.
That same judgment.
With the same, that's what it said. With the same judgment that I'm trying to give out, I'm judging myself with that same judgment first. Then I'm able to see clearly to cast out the mote out of my brother's eye. All right, verse 6. Let's read verse 6.
Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again and rend you. Ask.
Yes, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So, when we deal with, it's terrible in these times that we live in, people don't want judgment, and then they sit up here and try to use the Bible against you. Meanwhile, the Bible don't teach you not to judge people. It teaches you to judge people rightly.
Yep.
The Bible teaches you to judge in righteousness. The Bible teaches you not to be a hypocrite in your judgment. I can't sit up here and talk to you about something that I am sitting up here doing. In that regard, I can't judge you. Guess what? If that thing that I'm judging you in is not an issue for me, I'm able to judge you. That's what it says right there. Get the beam out of your eye. Get the thing that's blocking your vision, which in fact is a something that's whatever they're doing magnified, because we talking about a little baby piece of wood versus a big old fat piece of wood. They're both pieces of wood. So y'all got the same issues, but your issue is just greater.
Yep.
But it's the same issue. All he's saying is that, don't be a hypocrite. You get yourself together first. And then go and judge. By all means, judge.
This is going to be wickedness in the camp.
Exactly. And so when we think about, this time that we're in, people, it's terrible. Like it just helps us to understand more and more the wickedness that's around us. But it's not righteous for me to accept, how you are, if how you are is wicked according to the scriptures. If the way that you are is wicked according to the scriptures, I'm not supposed to just accept it. I'll just accept me how I am, accept my things that I held dear to my heart, when those things are wickedness, right? Everything about this place that we live in is just utter wickedness. Okay, what is this? What is this here? That 23:16.
Can I say something? That people have this. I mean, I'm not saying people. I'm saying people that we've worked with, who, when you approach them on something that's a serious matter, they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear even if it's not even like, it's no punishment. It's just approaching you about something. According to the Torah, there would be punishment behind it. But they don't even understand that them saying, well, fine, then I'll take my ball and play somewhere else, isn't really hurting us, but it's hurting them. Yeah. Because now you see 10 years down the line, the thing that was small at one point is now a big fire in their life. Yeah. If they would have handled it when it was a small thing, it would not have grown into the situation it is, later on. And so sin begets sin. Yeah, and so if you don't deal with the sin, if you don't deal with the sin when it's in its infancy, it's going to grow and be something bigger. You know what I mean? If you don't deal with someone who doesn't take the Most High seriously at the beginning of their walk, they're going to continue not to take them seriously throughout their walk.
Yeah.
So
that's the truth.
There's not understanding there that this is like life. It's like a lifesaver type of a thing, where it's reversing the wrong course that you was on.
Yeah, I mean, because let's just be honest. People think that they're a little further along than what they actually are. And so, it's pride. It's actually pride in you for somebody to say, there's something that you're doing that is a little off.
Yeah.
It's pride in you to say, well, who are you to tell me what's on or what's off? That's prideful. Like, in a spirit of humbleness, you would say, well, I mean, the optimal thing. What should I do to try to fix it? Oh, I didn't know that I was, or, are you trying to better the situation, or are you just on the defense? Or are you just like deflecting the situation? And this is what you see over here, but there's a whole culture that that we live in that has created this thought process where every person is just their own entity unto themselves, and no one can tell anybody anything, and they try to use the Bible to justify it.
Tattoos, only God can judge.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, that's what.
Oh, that's what.
That's right here, and I mean, yeah.
I mean, that's tattooed on.
I mean, just that. I mean, that's what happened. Like, people speak about these people, and hold them to such high esteem. When the message that these people put forth is a terrible message. This person sat up here and just beat somebody down, humiliated somebody in public, and then was murdered for it. And then he's treated like he's just like this wonderful guy. Like, if you live in this street life, that's what happens. If you beat somebody down in public, they're probably going to come back and do something bad. And that's exactly what happened. But read for us. Let's read this verse here. That is 16 through, what do you have here? 26. Start reading.
16 to 26. Woe unto you, ye blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing. But whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing. Whoever sweareth the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifieth the gift? Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar sweareth by it and by all things thereon. And whoso shall swear by the temple sweareth by it and by him that dwelleth therein. And he that shall swear by heaven sweareth by the throne of Elohim and by him that sitteth thereon. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also.
Very good. So, when you look again at Yeshua and his the way in which he deals with these scribes and these Pharisees, these people who in fact should actually be in the know in regards to the law, statutes, and commands. They were in fact walking around with beams in their eyes, trying to get the splinters out of the eyes of the people, and not dealing with the weightier matters: judgment, right ruling, mercy, and faith. Right. And so again, when we think about this idea, going back to Deuteronomy, looking at Deuteronomy 25, and again, this whole idea of judgment. These things are in place in the scriptures: proper judgment, right ruling. This is part of this life. Living a Torah life is more than you just doing rightness, but also being open to judgment against you. Because we in and of ourselves, individuals, we don't possess all knowledge. And this it becomes a problem. But as much as we see in the Torah, and as it relates to judgment, right ruling, these things, we actually should welcome, covet these things in our life, because the point is not to cause us to be of light esteem, right? The purpose of this judgment is to cause us to be better. And we all, every single one of us, should desire to be a better person. Right? And so you see, like, the person humbly goes before the judge and receives that judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And walks away a better person. All right, let's keep on going over it.
Yeah. Yes.
Verse 4. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treads out the corn. It's interesting when we think about this, just from a literal standpoint. When you look at it just from a literal standpoint, where it was known to be a Gentile practice to, in fact, put the muzzle on the ox as the ox treaded out the corn, right? As it did its work. As the ox went and did his thing, right? He wasn't able to put his head down and get a mouthful of whatever it was, the corn that he was treading. Right? He just was a slave, just doing the labor with no reward for the work that was being done.
Mm-hmm.
But we see again, inside of Torah, again, as we're looking through, as we move forward, we're kind of seeing where we see this kind of thread of right ruling and righteousness, uprightness, where it's only right. The ox is sitting there doing all of this work. Why can't he just bend over and get a little snack while he's doing his thing? But you wouldn't want for him to do that, because it would just be greed on your part, right? I want to get the maximum yield from the product. I don't want this ox sitting down here messing with my profits, right? I want to harvest every single bit that there is to harvest, so that I can make sure that I get all that I work for over here.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, the Most High says for us to leave the corners for the poor, right, and for the strangers.
Yeah.
Right, and so He don't teach us to harvest every single bit of the thing, right? He teaches us, like we just read this last week, when we get the stuff off of the tree, or to get the olives off of the tree, we don't gotta sit there and inspect the branches to make sure that we got all of the things off of the tree. Just leave those there, for those that are in need. And so, from a literal standpoint, we can see where this verse here thrown in here, help for us to see the right ruling that exists inside of the Torah, and the continued theme of helping those that aren't able to help themselves. When you think about an ox, these are domesticated animals that really are led to places to eat by their holders, right? And so they become dependent on those who care for them to for their feeding.
Yeah.
Right, for their shepherd to lead them into green pastures so that they're able to eat. And so, why should you expect for this thing to sit up here and do all this work for you and then not be fed?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's wicked, right? What do you have here? Let's say here. Meanwhile, an ox knows its owner, but Israel will not consider this. That's a Bible verse right there. And so, we're able to look at this, as I said, from a literal standpoint. When we think about Paul now, Paul he uses this same verse kind of in a proverbial sense. Let's look over in 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Let's just get the context. Just start reading here. Just start at the top here. Read down to verse 9.
Am I not an apostle? Am I not free? Have I not seen Yeshua Messiah, our Elohim?
Okay, go ahead.
Am I not an emissary? Am I not free? Have I not seen Yeshua Messiah, our Master? Are you not my work in the Master? If to others I am not an emissary, I certainly am to you. For you are the seal of my office, and the seal of my office of the emissary and the Master. My defense to those who examine me is this: do we not have a right to eat and drink? Do we not have a right to take along a sister, a wife, as do also the other emissaries and the brothers of the Master and Kepha? Or do only Barnabas and I have no right to refrain from working? Who serves as a soldier at his own expense? Who plants a vineyard and does not eat of its fruit? Or who shepherds a flock and does not feed on the milk of the flock? Do I say this as a man, or does not the Torah say the same too? For it has been written in the Torah of Moshe, "You shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain." It is about oxen. Is it about oxen? Elohim is concerned.
Okay, very good. It's interesting now, as we see over here. Paul, again, looking towards the verse in Deuteronomy 25, is, he's again looking at this verse from a proverbial sense in terms of saying, he's the ox, right? He's doing all of this work for the kingdom. Can he get some kickbacks? Isn't he not deserving of some things? Why are they sitting up here treating him like this when he is sitting up here doing all of this work over here? Paul is interesting, the way Paul is, but every once in a while Paul has to flex on these people and say like, I'm an apostle. I'm an apostle. Right? He said, for you are the seal of my office of apostle in the Messiah. The fact that you talking to the people that he's talking to, the fact that you even are here as an assembly is proof of the fact that he's the apostle. Paul set this place up. That's why he's writing back letters. Paul set the place up. That's why he got to sit up here and judge. That's why he's the one that judges these people, because he's the one who established the place in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so, it's interesting that Paul has to do this, but it's just funny that he's using this verse, because the ox is the only reason why you're able to have your corn be treaded is because of the ox.
That's the only reason. That's
the only reason. Otherwise, you wasn't going to be able to get it. Like, it's sitting there turning on this. It's got, like, you may have built an apparatus, but the thing is powered by the ox. Mm-hmm. So if you got this big old huge millstone that's crushing these grains, it still is powered by this ox, right? And so you have to give the ox his due. Like, give the ox his due. Again, this is just what's right, right? This is what is right to do. Okay? And so again, it's interesting when we look at this, where as we're going down in these verses, seeing the things that the Most High has established through His Torah, it all comes back to this idea of rightness, right? What do you say here? Plus, Paul, he spoke 13 languages. That is a little right to He had the right to brag. Paul did. He don't do it all the time, but he does do it though. Sometimes he got to put his credentials on the table, and he he does it from time to time because these people somehow forget.
That's just what I mean. People didn't change.
People did not change. People are still the same.
Because the first thing that happens when you approach someone about something is they say, "Well, who are you to talk to me?"
It just makes
about
you just
anything.
don't want to say nothing. Like, I'm not gonna sit up here.
So then you gotta say, "Well,
No,
I
and
give
then
my
and
credentials with
you wrong to do it, and you wrong not to do it. You know what I mean? If I sit up here and run it down, then now I'm bragging or I'm prideful. But if I don't, like, it's like, who are you? Like,
I guess I'm nobody.
You know what I mean? It's like you can't win with these people.
So Paul had to sometimes he had to be like, all right.
Sometimes he did it. And but again, when you dealing in a right spirit, like when you're dealing in a right spirit, he's able to do it and kind of jog the memory of these people and them operating in rightness would say, oh, yeah, that is right. He did establish this place. I forgot. He is the one that preached the gospel to us in the first place.
We only hear because he told us about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The other example is First Timothy. We'll go over First Timothy. First Timothy 5. Let's see how far we want to go. Verse 18 is our verse. Let's just read 16 through 18.
If any believing man or woman has widows, let such assist them, and do not let the assembly be burdened in order to assist those who are truly widows. Let the elders who rule well be counted worthy of double respect, especially those who labor in the word and teaching. For the scripture says, "You shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain, and the laborer is worthy of his wages."
Okay, very good. So again, Paul, again, the writer here, kind of using this verse where, we're definitely able to look at this verse and understand it from a literal standpoint. But again, the way that he's using it is kind of in this metaphorical aspect where, it's dealing with those that are doing the work that things shouldn't be held back by the ones that benefit from the one who's doing the work, like unto this ox, while he is threshing. And so again, when you look at the overarching kind of situation over here, we see these things which kind of, are unrelated. We're kind of able to see a connection when we look at all of it together, because all of it really is dealing with, dealing in a way of uprightness. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go back to Deuteronomy 25, and let's drop down to here. Read again 5 through 10.
When brothers dwell together, and one of them has died and has no son, the widow of the dead shall not become a strangers outside. Her husband's brother does go into her, and shall take her as a wife and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. And it shall be that the firstborn son which he bears does not rise up for the name of his dead brother, so that his name is not blotted out of Israel. But if the man does not desire to take his brother's wife.
Wait, can we just stop right there? It's interesting that verse 6, so that his name is not blotted out in Israel. The dead brother's name is not blotted out in Israel. It's kind of similar. It's not the same wording, but when you think about what would be happening with the person who was beat, and his name, and he became vowed to his brother. He became lightly esteemed to his brother. He became like nothing to his brother. It's similar to the idea of someone's name being blotted out in Israel. Whether your name's blotted out or whether your name becomes nothing, both things, the Most High don't want either one of those things to happen, right? So it's interesting that this thing that's going on over here, where it's kind of not really connected to the first few verses, but in that regard, you can kind of see where the purpose of it kind of has the same end as the purpose of what we saw in the first 4 verses. Okay, keep on. Verse 7.
But if a man does not desire to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up a name for his brother in Israel. He does not agree to perform the duty of my husband's brother. The elders of his city shall then call him and speak to him, and he shall stand and say, I have no desire to take her. Then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders, and remove his sandal from his foot, and shall spit in his face, and answer and say, thus it is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. And in Israel his name shall be called, the house of him who had his sandal removed.
Okay, again, we look at these things where they're kind of seemingly disconnected, but first of all, this whole thing was done so that the dead brother's name was not blotted out in Israel, and then the judgment that happens to the one who really tries to blot out his brother's name in Israel, his name is kind of diminished in Israel, where he's called the house of him who had his sandal removed. Right? He gets this shame, this stigma placed on his name, where by the fact that he was not willing to perform this duty, he was blotting out basically his brother's name in Israel, and then as a result, his name really is being blotted out in Israel in terms of him getting this tag on placed on him, the house of him who had his sandal removed. Okay, so let's go back up here. And I just want to say that when we look at 25 and 8, this person who gets this thing on him, this person who gets this stigma put on him, this person that gets spit in his face and gets this new label that's attached to his name, I feel like verse 8 gives him the chance to say, okay, all right, I'll do it. Right? The elders of the city shall then call him and speak to him. And then he still stands and says, I have no desire to take her. He still don't want to do it. The elders came to him, they spoke to him, and then he reaffirms the fact that he's not doing it.
Yep.
I have no desire to take her. And so now the judgment happens. And so it's interesting when we look at this. This person is given every opportunity. He's given every opportunity to do what it is that he should do, and he refused to do it. And then as a result, he gets this stigma placed on him. He gets this judgment. He gets this judgment on it. All right, so let's go back up here, because I want to deal with what seems to be kind of a very important part of this whole thing, is these words here: when brothers dwell together. When brothers dwell together. It's interesting when we look at this. It's not. I don't know if Torah is giving us this thing and putting these words in here for nothing. These words are here for something. And I think that it is important to consider these words that are put over here. Okay, because it didn't just say when I mean, it literally says when brothers dwell together and one of them has died. So first of all, you have brothers that dwell together, and one of the brothers that dwell together died. So is this command to brothers in general, or brothers that dwell together?
They're all at the same time. They're together.
I mean, that's what it says. It says when they dwell together. Not necessarily just because they're brothers. Not just because you have brothers, but as it says, brothers that dwell together. I don't think that we're able to overlook these words over here. What's this probably? Your shop. Dwell. Sit down. Dwell, remain. Settle.
In the same place.
Right. They dwell, they live together.
In the same town.
Right. Key. So I think first of all, this part of it is important. This law here seems to be very specific. Right? It's not kind of this general thing. If a man dies and he never had a son, then his brother is to become the widow is to become the wife of the brother necessarily. I think that the prerequisite is this idea that they were already, kind of living extended family, close knit situation over here, where he's not the brother that lives, way over in the other situation over there, but this is, one that actually dwells together, as it says, right? I think first of all, it seems that this is, part of it. Another thing that I thought was interesting, that when you think about the Torah now, well, I guess there's two things, because if we look over in Leviticus, Over in Leviticus in 18. And what is it, 16? What's that say?
The nakedness of your brother's wife you do not uncover. It is your brother's nakedness.
Okay, very good. And so when you think about your brother's wife, I suppose while she was your brother's wife, this would be a forbidden situation, right? But once you've died, once a brother has died, it no longer fits into this category, right? Because you can't very well be married to someone who's dead.
Yeah.
So let's just get that out of the way. But it's interesting when we look at this over here, the idea of in Torah that exists in Torah in different ways, the idea of the continuance of generations, right? We talked about this a little before, but when you think about the idea of teaching the Torah to your children, right? This is the way in which the nation. This is the way that it continues, right? Because you teach it to their children, to your children, they teach it to their children, they teach it to their children, so on and so forth, right? And so these things, perpetuate, and they perpetuate based on things that's inside of the Torah that facilitate this growth, right? And so when you have then a situation where the bride, the wife, was not able to have a child, and again, we see inside of Torah, if she had a daughter, and no sons, right? We got a law for that, right? We got a law for that. Huh? What?
The daughter and her sons. Isn't that right?
No. Hold on.
What's the law for the daughter and his son?
That is the law that came about as a result of the daughters of Zelophehad.
Yeah.
Right? And so the very place from which your name comes, right? The daughters of Zelophehad. So if the lady had a daughter, then the name of the father would still go forward through the daughter because of the law that was given, as a result of the daughters of Zelophehad.
Shouldn't have married within her tribe.
Right. And so the same end is what this Torah command strives for, in terms of this person who hasn't had any children, for them to go and be added to some other tribe. Again, this thing happens, right? This kind of this stopping of the line happens, right? But again, these things that seem disjointed, and these things that seem unconnected, the closer we look at these things, the more they seem connected, right? The brother who don't want to do it, he gets this name of shame that's attached to him. His name becomes diminished, right? He becomes light of light esteem in the eyes of his brethren, right? Um, and so to prevent this person's name from being blotted out in Israel, you have this thing, this levirate marriage that was established, and again for the continuance of the generations. When you think about a son, right? When you think about a Ben, right? A son, a bet, and a noon, right? The plan, the tent plan, and the continuance of it, right? The son is the building of the house and the continuance thereof. And so when you think about the thing that the brother was refusing to do, the brother was refusing to allow the building of the house and the continuance thereof to take place. And this is a very important part of Israel. Right? For there to be a tent floor plan and for there to be a continuance of it. Where the daughter, the wife, in order to maintain this thing that, she wasn't able to reach for whatever reason with her husband that died, the Most High says, we don't want to have for this legacy to be eradicated, right? And so the selfish brother says, I don't want to take part in the building of my brother's house and the continuance of it. I just want to build my own house. Forget about his house. I don't care. And then again, when we look at verse 8, even still, when he's called before the elders of the city and they speak to him, the thing that he still has to say then is, I have no desire to take her. I'm not going to do it. No.
Yeah, she's spitting.
Right. And so, when we look at this, it's interesting that this thing that the Most High, this law that He created, was again this thing to continue the legacy of this particular generation that was going to just cease to exist, potentially cease to exist. She could by all intents and purposes, she could have married whomever, right? But when she did so, if she happened to do it outside of the tribe, that's just a lessening of. In fact, when you think about the fact that the Most High, he gave these tribes an allotment according to their size.
Yeah.
Right? And so it was necessary. We see that it's necessary, obviously, based on the way that the Most High moves with these things that He put in place, that He wanted to allow for those things to at least be maintained, but obviously grow, but at least not diminish. And so it's interesting that we see this law over here. But again, the thing that's also interesting is the fact that, again, like we said, the thing that the brother is kind of facilitating by his denial, comes back on him, and then it basically comes to him, right? The thing that he insisted upon doing in regards to lightening his brother's name, comes back at him, and his own name becomes lightened, right? The shame that he tried to attach to his dead brother's name, a similar or worse shame becomes attached to his own name.
The other guy's dead. Some guy keep living and walking around, and people being like, "Oh, that's the guy whose shoe got removed from his foot."
Yes, the house of him whose sandal is removed. That's interesting. What's that look like in the Hebrew? I wonder.
Very interesting.
Verse 10. What do we have here?
What's the verse?
25 and 10. Na'al. Kalats. What's it look like together? I can't.
Beit Chalats. Hana'al. Beit Chaluts. Hana'al.
Kaluts Hana'al.
Beit.
The house of him that hath his shoe loose. It sounds so random. And it sounds so disconnected from what it actually is. But just even when you just think about what that is. I mean, when you walk around, you have shoes to protect your feet and your journey, right? It's necessary to have your shoes be tied, properly affixed to your feet, so that you're able to move properly. The brother here in his denial attempted to alter, stop the movement of the generations of his brother, and as a result, again, that same thing that he wanted to mete out to his brother, was given to him. And so I just thought that was interesting, that this shame that existed, because this is a very we may not think about it put the same weight on it in these days and times. The idea of children continuing the name of a family, but this was everything. To these people at this time, and for the wife to not to be able to experience, be a part of bringing forth the continuance of this man's name. It's a very it's a very serious situation. You know, she strongly desires this thing to happen. And what happens? What happens? He gets the stigma on him. He just refuses. He just takes the stigma.
Just take it.
But she still doesn't get her. It don't talk about her. It don't talk about her. You know what happens, because at the end of the day, I mean, he gets what he wanted. He didn't want to do it in the first place. Does he just decide, well, the stigma, I don't care about this. I don't care about it. But she still don't get the child.
Another house.
What do we have here? Luke 4:7 gives a little light. The Redeemer has not named in this chapter.
The Redeemer isn't named.
The Redeemer isn't named. Oh, you talking about Ruth? Yes. Well, the idea, if you're a relative, a close relative, you were that. Like you were the Gaal. You were the kinsman redeemer, right? As it relates to property, as it relates to people. When you think about the blood avenger, he was the kinsman redeemer, the nearest relative. When you have these situations, your nearest relatives are supposed to be the ones that are there to, by rights, help. It's interesting that, again, when we think about the things that the Most High puts in place, these laws, statutes, and commands, they want these laws, statutes, and commands want for us to function in a way that is not selfish, right? And a lot of these things, when you look at, there's selflessness kind of built into these different laws, statutes, and commands. Like, this is a perfect example. The person doing this the way that the Most High intends for it to be, it's a selfless act, right? Because you, as an individual, you want for your name to continue, right? And so, you never know if you really just got one good seed in you. Right? You might not your seed might not be so vigorous, where you could just put it wherever you want to put it at, and it take roots. You never know. And so it takes a level of selflessness to submit yourself to this particular law over here. But again, when you think about, what the law brings about in us, the doing of the law, statutes, and commands causes us to manifest the character of the Most High. Right? When he does this law, he manifests selflessness. He manifests a type of loving kindness towards not only the wife, but also the dead brother, where he puts the needs of others in front of his own needs, for the greater good of the brother, and also the wife. And so, it's interesting that again we look at this and see these things where until you actually look at these different laws and try and seek to understand what they're doing, what these laws are doing, you miss out on the the spiritual value of these things, right? Where we see all of these things embedded in these laws. All right, let's keep on going over here. Let's look at read again 11 and 12.
When men fight with one another, man and his brother, and the wife of one shall draw near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one,
Striking him.
Yeah, from the hand of the one striking him, and shall put out her hand and take hold of him by the genitals, then he shall cut off her hand. Your eye does not pardon.
Okay, very good. So, when you think about over here, what's going on, I guess just right on top, right on the surface, the wife, she could just mind her business, right? And she don't got to be included in none of this, right? She could just, just hold her peace, just sit back, and if her man is getting beat up, she could just get some alcohol and some ice or something for his wounds, and just mend them up after the fact. Because if you were to say, well, she accidentally took hold of his situation, right? If she just would have just not even tried to get involved in the first place, then nothing would have happened, right? If she, the King James says, takes him by the secrets, right? If she wasn't trying to put her hands in places that they didn't belong in the first place, none of this would have happened. But look what happens though. Her hand, it says, then you got to cut her hand off, right? Because when you think about it, I feel like when you look at this over here and the severity of the judgment, this is something that seems intentional. It seems intentional what she would be doing to even I don't know how you accidentally do this, right? Take hold of the secrets, right? I don't know how you accidentally take hold of the secrets. The act, it seems, is something that is intentional. And so it's interesting. It's interesting when you look at this again, at the overarching kind of a theme that we're kind of seeing over here. Again, when we think about the continuance of the house, the building of the house, and the continuance of it, this lady over here this lady over here tried to stop the continuance of this man's house over here because he was beating up her husband.
Mm. Mm.
She tried to stop the continuance of this man's house because her husband was getting beat up. And the Most High said, you can't be stopping the continuance of the house of this man.
Mm.
I'm going to cut your hand off as a result of this.
Mm.
But who was you talking to where the people brought you to this verse when they was talking about women and fighting or something?
Was it? I gotta think about it. What did I say? Do you remember what I said? Anything?
I don't remember what you said, but I just remember that you was talking
about women fighting
in this verse right here.
Because it gives limits to the woman fighting. So that meant that she could fight. Oh, it was a Torah. The lady was talking about the Torah commands to women, and she said that.
Oh, this was a command to the women.
Yes, because the woman was obviously allowed to fight. It just was there was a limit on her fighting.
Interesting.
That's what she said.
Was she allowed to fight though?
That's what she said, and I had more important things to talk to her about than this one.
I feel like she wasn't even supposed to get in it in the first place, and I don't know. I don't look at it like that. I don't know if it's just because I'm a man. I don't look at it like that. But
like, do you need me to help you? You fighting, and you might be getting on the end. Do you want me to jump in?
No, I mean, I could just take the L. If I'm gonna lose, I'm just gonna lose. But
would you want your wife to fight?
No, I feel like that would be more humiliating than just only just losing. Is that my wife saved me from losing? I think it's worse to have your wife save you than it is just to lose. I feel like I'd just rather just take the loss than to have been rescued by my wife.
Well, I mean, obviously the guy was getting the best.
I mean, I think that would be like having 41 lashes. It would be humiliating. It would be humiliating for me to have been rescued by my wife. I'm just gonna say it. And I feel like the Most High knows that. He knows that. So he's basically saying, now she, I would say, to make sure that she didn't accidentally touch his secrets, that she would just stay out of it altogether. I would think. I mean, if it was me, like, if there was a potential that could happen, you know, she's gonna lose an arm or a hand. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying. To me, I don't. It's not. I don't see it as a limit to the.
She was reaching.
Yeah, it's definitely a reach. I would say, yeah.
She was reaching with that. Women can fight according to the Torah.
Yeah. But I think the other thing is that, I mean, but what it does say is that men can fight. I think that's what it does say is men can fight. Sometimes men just need to just fight it out, I think. I think sometimes just the furniture just got to get moved out the way. And things just need to happen. And just, you know, whatever happens, happens. You know, then now to me, that's something that I do see over here. Because, you know, it's not, that's all that happens, right? They fight and then they just fight. And then that's what happens. And then, you know, if there's an issue, if there's an issue after that, then we could just go. If the fight wasn't good enough to determine, who was right or who was wrong, then we could just go before the judge, and then he can take care of it, right? I feel like the preliminary thing to verse 1 potentially could be this fight over here. That's sad, right? Maybe the fight, maybe you wasn't happy with the outcome of the thing. You still felt slighted. And then now you got to go and see who was actually right or wrong to the judge. And then, maybe that's where it gets into the blows that you receive. It's not something that's death worthy, right? It's just, you just did something that was just terribly wrong, right? But again, I think being able to even just take a loss is something that requires a certain level of humility, right? Even the ability to be able to even take a loss is something that requires humility. There's a lot of people that's out here. Well, I guess there's not people that's out here dead. There's a lot of people that are not out here because of the fact that somebody took a loss and then they came back shooting. And so, it's sometimes you just have to be able to accept defeat, right? You can't win them all, right? You win some and you lose some. But again, just like when you think about the idea of accepting the up to 40 lashes, the same thing is true when you think about the idea of sometimes you just lose, right? What?
I found it. She said, which of these are not in the Tanakh? There's a quiz. Which of these are not in the Tanakh? And one of them was law on how to physically fight a man. There's a Torah law on how to physically fight a man.
Interesting.
And this was the law on how to physically fight a man. You can fight him, just don't do this.
Yeah. I mean, I
I took a screenshot of it.
I
and
guess
sent it to her.
I guess that could be that, but I wouldn't look at it as that.
I took a screenshot.
I feel like it's a law of how to not get into a man's business. That's what I feel like it is. It's more of a law to tell the wife to stay out of the man's business more than it is to limiting how she could get into business. Well, you could get into business, but just don't do this. Just don't take it to this extreme. I don't know if it's.
Anyway, it was an interesting conversation I had with her. This was way back though. What was this? Oh my! I can't even believe I still have that snapshot saved.
Yeah,
That was 2018.
I can't believe it
I
either. All right, let's just drop down to this other part I want to just talk about before we stop. We of course see over here where it mentions not having different weights and measures for your doing your dealings. which is another part of just, operating out inside of uprightness. But I wanted to talk about these last 3 verses. Read 17 through 19 again.
Remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you were coming out of Mitzrayim. How he met you on the way and attacked your back, all the feeble ones in your rear, when you were tired and weary, and he did not fear Elohim. Therefore it shall be, when Yahweh your Elohim has given you rest from your enemies all around, in the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you to possess as an inheritance, that you blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. Do not forget.
Okay, very good. So we see what the Most High decrees in regards to the Amalekites. How the Amalekites came up behind Israel when Israel was in a vulnerable place. Understanding that the people that the young and the elderly were the ones that were, in the rear. They came up behind and attacked Israel in its most vulnerable place. It's interesting. This is not even different from what the woman did. Right? The woman acts as an Amalekite whenever she attacks the man that's beating her husband in his most vulnerable place, in his secrets. The Amalekites came and attacked Israel in Israel's secrets, right? In his children, right? And its sons, and tried to destroy the line of Israel, right? And so the Most High says that these people should be blotted out, right? This is a terrible thing, right? These Amalekites. It's interesting that, you look at, sometimes people may have this or that to say in regards to the Most High's judgment towards the Amalekites, where he talks with Saul, I believe, in regards to, wiping out the Amalekites and the women and the children. He's given these explicit instructions to do so. And how can you talk about these people that's, they're so bad that they're just unredeemable, these people? But when you think about the Amalekites, they weren't a people that were far off. First of all, the Amalekites come from Esau. They're descendants of Esau. They don't come from far off, so they would know. They would know of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so within that knowledge, that knowledge alone should help you in your dealings. And so for those people who with full knowledge come up against the people of the Most High, it's kind of a blatant denial of the Most High as Elohim. And so when you think about that act in and of itself, it's an act worthy of death. Right? It's an act that's worthy of punishment. When we think about the Most High, think about what he says. Think about what the Most High says through his apostle, See what the Spirit of the Most High led for the apostle to say in Romans. Let me find it here.
The lady did that because she couldn't fight. She couldn't fight fair, so she wanted to try to fight dirty.
Yeah, the lady did fight dirty, but again, what she did was in the spirit of the Amalekites.
Yeah, well, the Amalekites fought dirty too.
So it's
They couldn't
interesting.
fight right on.
It's interesting that you have these two things that are kind of placed close together in the Torah, where the woman who gets her arm cut off for getting in this fight and attacking the line of the enemy, the generational line of the enemy, she attacks his most vulnerable place, the secrets that she attacks. And it don't talk about right or wrong over there. He could have been right and then winning in his rightness, and then she gets in it and attacks his secrets, and the Most High says that her hand should be cut off because she attacked the enemy in his vulnerable parts. But that's the exact same thing that the Amalekites did to Israel. They attacked Israel in the vulnerable parts, and then they, like the hand of the woman, were to be cut off. And so, thinking about the judgments of the Most High, let's look at start reading at 8, Romans 8:28 through 30.
And we know that all matters work together for good to those who love Elohim, to those who are calling according to his purpose. Because those whom he knew beforehand, he also ordained beforehand to be conformed to the likeness of his Son, for him to be the firstborn among many brothers. And whom he ordained beforehand, these he also called, and whom he called, these he also declared right, and whom is declared right, these he also esteemed.
Okay, very good. So when we think about the Most High and his predeterminations, verse 29 says, because those whom he knew before, he also ordained beforehand to be conformed to the likeness of his Son. The persons who are in fact conformed to the likeness of Yeshua were ordained beforehand because he knew beforehand what it is that these people would in fact do.
Yeah.
And so when we think about those that are conformed to the likeness of his Son, they're choosing, and whom he ordained, he also called, and the ones that he called, he justified, and the ones that he justified, he glorifies. But when we go to the beginning of this, it all starts with who he knew. He pre-knew. He knew what the people would do. So he chooses the people based on the fact that he knows whether they'll accept their calling or not. And so this is what we have to understand in regards to the way in which the Most High operates. He knows who will accept his choosing. And so to know who will accept his choosing, he also knows who won't accept his choosing. And so when we think about the Amalekites, we should know that the Amalekites will in fact not accept his choosing, and therefore the Most High is just when he says kill them all. He chose you because he knew that you would accept his choosing. But but the same thing is true with the ones who he knows won't accept his choosing. He knows that you won't accept his calling, so therefore, judgment is preordained and purposed for you. And so again, we look at these Amalekites. We're able to look and understand that these people were, they were just a wicked people. It didn't matter that they knew who the Most High was.
Yeah.
And they chose just to stay over there where they was at and do the things that they deemed right in their own eyes. And so they deserved then to be blotted out. Let's look over at Deuteronomy 7. Deuteronomy 7. Read 7, 9, and 10.
And you shall know that Yahweh Elohim, he is Elohim, the trustworthy El guarding covenant and loving commitment for 1,000 generations with those who love him and those who guard his commands, but repaying those who hate him to their face to destroy them. He does not delay to do so with him who hates him. He repays him to his face.
Okay, very good. The Most High is said over here, for those that loves him, he is trustworthy, right? He is a Elohim that guards covenant, and he has loving commitment for those to 1,000 generations. That's forever for those that love him and those that guard his commandments. But the ones that hate him, he says, but repaying those who hate him to their face, to destroy them. The ones that he destroys because they hate him. Repaying those who hate him to their face. Those people he destroys. And he don't delay in doing so. That's what happens to those that hate the Most High. He repays those people who hate him to their face. The Amalekites hated the Most High. If they didn't hate him, why would they try to snuff out his people? They would never have tried to snuff out the people of the Most High if they loved the Most High. They obviously hated the Most High. The book of John tells us that if you love me, you keep my commandments. So why then wouldn't the opposite of that be true? If you don't keep my commandments, then you must hate me then. Is it safe to say that those that don't keep the commandments hate the Most High? They don't love him. They don't love the Most High, because to love him is to keep his commandments. Right? To not love him, if to love him is to keep his commandments, to not love him or to hate him is to
ignore him.
Well, to ignore him. Let's see. This word hate, sane. Let's see. Hate, enemy, foe. Odious. It just stink. Something's odious. It's a stink in your nostrils. But this is interesting here. The verb means to hate, to be unwilling, to be hated. When you think about hate, that's one thing to hate. Right? I hate yogurt. Right? But it seems like another level where it says to be unwilling. To be unwilling, it seems not as strong. It's not as strong as hate, it seems. But when you think about the idea of being unwilling to accept that which the Most High puts forth, we could label that as being hate towards the Most High.
Rebellion.
It is in fact rebellion. If I'm unwilling to accept that which is decreed by the Most High, which is His law, statutes, and commands, I hate the Most High. Because I know what loving Him is. Loving Him is doing what He said. But the opposite of that is not being unwilling to accept what He said. I mean, it's a serious thing. If I'm unwilling to accept the fact that He said, if I murder someone, that I'm transgressing against the Most High. If I'm unwilling to say that, I mean, that's pretty heavy. Like, if I'm unwilling to accept that which the Most High deems to be right, that's pretty significant. And so again, just looking at the words hatred and to be unwilling seem like they're miles apart. However, you think about what it is that you are being unwilling to do as it relates to the Most High. If you're unwilling to do the things that He deems to be right, is wicked. Blatant disregard. A blatant disregard. I mean, that's yeah, and from a spiritual standpoint, when you look at the Amalekites, it is a blatant disregard. It's not these unknowing participants, right? These are the neighbors. These are the neighbors of Israel. They're the neighbors of Israel. They're the distant relatives of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If they came from Esau, then that means that when you go far enough back, then they had the same Elohim. And so these are the Amalekites are the epitome of blatant disregard. They're the epitome of hatred towards the Most High. So again, the Most High is not out here playing games. He said, "You shall know that Yahweh your Elohim is Elohim." And He's a faithful Elohim, guarding His commandments and mercy for 1,000 generations for those that love Him. But those that hate Him, He destroys them. And so there's no such thing as a middle ground. Right? There's no middle ground here.
Mm-hmm.
You either love the Most High or you hate the Most High. There's no, well, I like the Most High. He's not everything to me.
It's some things.
Yeah, some things I really enjoy, but other things I could take or leave. I mean, when you think about that, when you think about those words, right? That's and understanding who the Most High is. That's hate speech towards the Most High. It is like it is. Oh, I accept most. I accept most of the things that the Most High says, but some of that stuff is just too much. What is that? That's in the middle of the road. That's lukewarm. Right? You should have said those are the ones who's gonna get spewed out of his mouth. Those are the ones that won't be accepted. Either you're hot or you're cold. You either love the Most High or you hate him. Even when we look at this word here, that's translated as hate.
That's right.
If I could click on it here. This word here, it's the antonym. It's the antonym of Habab, of Ahab. It's the antonym of it. It's the opposite. And, this is not just the opinion of the writer of this dictionary entry, but we see them kind of, opposed to one another in Deuteronomy 7, 9, and 10.
More.
He got all this goodness for those that he loves, but he got all of this destruction for those that he hates.
More. Shula just texted, there's no word for like in Hebrew, only love.
Right, because it's so under committed. Right? It's just so like it's wishy-washy. Like, well, I like you. Right? I don't know if the Most High don't want nothing like that. You're either on his team or you're not on his team.
Yes.
And if you're on his team, he got all these wonderful things for you. But if you're not on his team, then he has destruction that's for you. And so when we look over here at, again, dealing with these Amalekites, we have to be able to understand that these Amalekites are exemplary of those that would intentionally go against the Most High and his people, and to intentionally strike and seek to destroy the people that are that belong to the Most High. And so when we think about kind of just closing with these thoughts, we think about the Most High, and how he the things that he expects from his people. He wants for us to be examples, people that manifest his character, that walk around and exemplify the character of the Most High. He gives us his laws, statutes, and commands so that we're able to, when we walk these things out, typify his character here on this earth. And so when we think about these laws, statutes, and commands, we look at all these things and where they seemingly look and appear different, random, miscellaneous, disjointed, not connected. We're able to find common themes within all of these commands that that we look at. And so we want to be able to know that the Most High, that's what this new covenant is, right? The Spirit in us causing us to do his commandments. The Ruach HaKodesh working inside of us, causing us to walk in the character of the Most High.
That's right.
And the closer we get to Messiah, the closer we get to the Most High, the more we allow His Ruach HaKodesh to rule and reign in our lives, the more we go around and exemplify and manifest the character of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where we want to be in our lives. This is the way that we want to be on this earth, right? We want to be continuing the line of Yeshua, right? We want to continue to allow for Yeshua's house to be built, right, in this earth. And we want to remove all of the things that would hinder the continuance of the building of the Master's house, right?
Yes.
And so these are all things that we are able to think about when we look at this Deuteronomy chapter 25. This is the direction that it points us down. All right. So that being said, anybody have any last thoughts, questions, comments? Yes, in fact, we should like the video. Not only like it, share it. Share the video. If you're here, you probably already have subscribed to the video and to the channel. And that's what we want for more people to be doing, to be subscribers and be sharers of the video, so that we can continue to get these words out all over the place. We thank all of the people who are likers and subscribers and participants even in what we're doing over here. Y'all willing, we will be back on next week. And for now, we're going to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Everyone have a blessed week.